Hey guys, what's going on? It is Broken Nose Vlogs here, and I don't think I ever really touched on this subject or story or whatever you want to call it, outside of you guys may be aware of a couple of PC build videos that I did. One of them in particular was like, how budget can I build a PC? And it was in a black and white Panda case. It was pretty low spec. It was like a 12100F, 16 gigabytes of RAM, GTX 1050 Ti, nothing fancy, right? And I succeeded. I made a budget PC. It worked for all intents and purposes. I built it for someone, and it lasted in that configuration a little while, but I kind of sat down and I thought, I'm pretty sure I underbuilt this. So the person's not like a gamer or anything like that, but I wanted to give them something a little bit more smooth experience-wise, because I also found out they have a lot of background applications open. Like, they will listen to Spotify, they have Razer Synapse, they have Armory Crate, they have all of that stuff open. So like 16 gigabytes of RAM didn't look too great all of a sudden. They do play one or two games, nothing fancy, but like all of those background applications open, plus whatever they'd be doing. I was like, this is starting to look like maybe I kind of underbuilt this PC. So I actually gutted those parts out. As a matter of fact, the 12100F and the 16 gigabytes of RAM ended up in a secret third PC that I'd built. If you guys have watched my Stepmania streams on Twitch, or if you've seen it on my VODs channel, you know that there's a PC that I use for that. And it is a 12100F. It has 16 gigabytes of RAM. It doesn't have a 1050 Ti in it. That is like my ultimate backup card in case everything fails. It uses a GTX 1070, but that's my streaming PC. Most of those components came from that Panda build. I did have to get a new motherboard because the B760 was a micro ATX. I'm actually using an ITX case. It's an NZXT, I think, H210i. I might throw some footage up on screen while I talk about this. And that basically, outside of the motherboard, everything else was kind of dredged over from the Panda build. So I now had a PC that had no CPU, no GPU, and no RAM. Now, of course, this was before the computer part crisis that we have going on currently. I wanted to improve upon the experience of that PC. So, like, I didn't keep it at 16 gigabytes of RAM. We went to 32. Instead of a quad-core CPU, we ended up going with an Intel i5 12490F, which is actually a Chinese exclusive CPU. Essentially, it's a 12400F, kind of like beefed up, right? It's got faster clocks. It actually has more cache than the standard 12400 or 12400F. So that was the CPU that we ended up using in the Panda build, and then I wanted to get something a little bit more relevant than a GTX 10 series card. Now, I had bought not a GTX, an RTX 2070. I actually did a video on it. That particular GPU ended up going into that red and black PC build that I did. It was an AMD Ryzen 5700X. That particular PC I built for a coworker, so it's off and gone already. But I sat there and I was like, okay, I can't find another 2070. I did find on Newegg a RTX 2060 Super. It was one from MSI. It was the MSI Ventus 2X. Yeah, it's fine. You know, the 2060 Super is good enough. 8 gigabytes of RAM, not a huge power draw, single 8-pin. Like, I thought for this build, hey, this would be great. I mean, in theory, it is great. I am still using this RTX 2060 Super. That's not the story, right? So I had purchased this through the Newegg Refreshed program, the same way I bought the RTX 2070, because I had such a positive impression of Newegg's Refreshed service that I was like, oh, well, I had a great experience with the 2070. This 2060 Super should be just fine. And that's where I would be dead wrong. So the 2060 Super, let's I don't know, how do I start this? So I order it. I actually had it shipped to my work because it would get there quicker. You know, I was pretty excited. It was about the same price. It actually may have been a little less expensive than what I paid for the 2070. So it shows up at work and I'm like, cool. I'm on my lunch break. I'm gonna pop this box open. We're gonna take a look at it. And that's what I do, right? I open it up and I get ready to lift the GPU out. I pull it out. It's in its little anti-static bag. I take it out of the anti-static bag and I'm like, hey, this doesn't look too bad. Let's flip it over and take a look at the back plate. And so I flip it over and the fan shroud fell off. So I was really confused. I was like, did I just break my GPU? What's going on? Nope, that wasn't the case. I took it apart more, and I will show you some images of what I had received. But essentially, whoever like QC'd this or said it was okay to go out didn't bother actually like lifting the GPU up off the table. They just said, yeah, sure, slid it in an anti-static bag and put it inside the box. The fan shroud, there are little plastic tabs that you would screw little screws into, and it would hold it onto the the heat sink of the GPU. 3 out of 4 of them were damaged beyond repair. They had been cracked out. There's no way to actually hold a screw in there. There was, I think, one that was still intact, but that one didn't have a screw in it, and the screws were just kind of now floating around inside of the anti-static bag. And I was just like, you're joking, right? Like, y'all really thought this was okay to send out? And I was kind of in between a rock and a hard place, because Newegg only usually puts like one of these up at a time, because essentially, from the way it works, from how I understand it, this is a trade-in program. So if you trade in your GPU, you get credit, they can refurbish your GPU, and then it gets sold off again to another person. So I'm assuming this person traded in knowingly a pretty messed up RTX 2060 Super. I tried to reach out to Newegg, and they're like, well, you can attempt to refund it. We're gonna have to check it and make sure everything is okay with the card. Which I was like, well, wait, pump the brakes. You sent me a card that was bad. And this kind of reminds me of what happened to Gamers Nexus when they bought an open box motherboard from Newegg, and like the pins were bent and it was all messed up, and then Newegg basically turned around and said, hey, you did this, we're not refunding you. So in my head I'm like, okay, if I try to refund or return the GPU, they're gonna take it, they're gonna look at it and go, well, it's clearly broken, no refund for you, and then they're gonna just send me the card back. In my head, at least, like, refund was out of the option. So I did the next best thing. I left a review. Now, this wasn't even like I didn't cuss, I didn't leave any bad language. I did leave images of the graphics card and how it looked in my possession. And I specifically stated, like, this was a Newegg refreshed item. This is what I received. It is clearly broken. It is not in good shape. And I left the review, and the review got deleted. It was, I submitted it. It said cool, and then it was there, and then it wasn't. It was gone. And the only reason I realized that it had been removed is I went to my purchase history, and because it was one of my most recent purchases, it was like, hey, review your item. And I was like, I reviewed this item already. I am almost positive. So I jumped back, and there's literally just one 5-egg review saying, oh, wow, this graphics card is such a good deal, and it was in great shape. And I was like, well, wait, what happened to mine? What happened to mine? So they deleted the review, and I was like, okay, you do you. And I kind of sat on it. The return window had expired. I did come up with a fix. I used the one good bracket mounting point with a screw, put it together, and then with very strategic and careful placement, I basically just used super glue, and I kind of like layered on super glue on the broken parts, the broken tabs where the screws wouldn't fit in. I lined them up to where they would meet on the heat sink, and I adhered them. I let them dry for like 48 hours just to be safe, and I made sure the fans were plugged in. I also cleaned off the heat sink, because on top of the fan shroud being disconnected essentially from the GPU. It was very dusty and dirty. It looked like literally somebody had just taken it out of their CPU or their tower and just gave it to me. It looked like an eBay sale for like used on like one of those like, you know, no photos of the image or no photos of the product kind of auction or buy it now. So I cleaned it up and I put it in. I mated the parts, let it sit over 48 hours. It's working just fine now. Can you tell that I kind of like did surgery to it? Yeah, you can definitely tell I did surgery to it. You can see because put super glue on plastics or something, it tends to create this like kind of white film, and you can see where I did that. But it works. And at the end of the day, okay, cool, I got it to work. Should I have had to have done what I did? Probably not. But I was more, I don't even want to say upset. I was more confused as to why Newegg had deleted my review. Because, again, I didn't break any of their policies. So I kind of sat on it for a while, and I forgot about it. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to try one more time to leave a review. And I left a very, very generic, anonymous review this time that basically just said, you know, I received a broken GPU. It was in no shape to be installed into a PC immediately upon receipt or anything like that. Interestingly enough, MSI, I'm sure there's probably like a bot that will scan different websites, and if it sees a very low star review, it will probably pop up and respond, because that's what I got. I got a canned response that basically just said, you know, hey, thanks for sharing your experience. We're sorry to hear that you're experiencing a problem. If you have any further questions, reach out to our RMA email and we'll be able to assist you. And in my head, I'm like, okay, this has got to be automated, because there's no way a person, like an actual employee, would say, hey, look at this review. It's about our GPU, but it's a Newegg Refreshed item. I'm going to reach out to them and tell them, hey, we're sorry. And I was like, I saw the email and I was like, you know what? I'll go ahead and I'll send an email over. It wasn't anything fancy. Hey there, MSI folks. I'm going to assume that the response in the attached PDF was automated, but it did say to reach out to you guys. Wanted to let you know that unfortunately this is a Newegg Refreshed product, which means Newegg was supposedly the ones who double-checked and sent this product out to me. Fortunately, Newegg sent me a model of your company's GPU that was essentially broken. And I tell them why the fan shroud fell away, etc., etc. I go on further and say, when I first reviewed this item, I included photo documentation, and Newegg actually deleted the review. I didn't realize that it was deleted until I went back onto my Newegg account and it told me to review the item again. So I left a much more generic review that still stated the card was in no shape to be sent or sold to a customer. And then I clarified. I said, unfortunately, I don't really think this is an MSI issue. And then I put in parentheses, unless it came from your refurbished inventory, but I believe Newegg handles these products internally. I go, it's a Newegg issue. I go, your automated system probably just picked up on a 1-star review on the 2060 Super and sent out this reply, but honestly, there's no recourse I can really take with Newegg, as they're not too interested making anything right with this purchase. Meaning, like I said, they even deleted the original review with the photos showing their poor refurbishment. So, you know, do I really think I'm going to get a refund from them? Probably not. I closed it out. I said, anyways, thanks for your time, and I apologize that your automated response system picked up on this 1-star review, as I truly don't think it's MSI's fault for this. It's Newegg's. And I didn't really think anything of this. I didn't think I was going to get a response. Surprisingly, I did get at least one email currently. And I mean, it's, you know, it's nothing fancy. I just put, you know, I didn't expect anything back. So the fact that I got something back was one thing. But they put, greetings, Patrick. Y'all know that's my name. I'm not really worried about editing that out. I am sorry to hear that you received an MSI product in such a condition, and that Newegg does not appear willing to assist. However, I do appreciate you reaching out to clarify the reason for your review, and I forwarded this email to our internal marketing team, so they are aware of the reason where the reason for the 1-star review made. thank you, and I'm gonna cover up their info because I don't want to give that out. But I will say it is cool that MSI at least reached out and said, hey, thanks, thanks for letting us know why you left a 1-star review, and you're not having issues with the card. I mean, I was having issues with the card, but it wasn't because it was a faulty product from MSI. It was a faulty refurbishment from Newegg. But it bums me out. I was really let down that, I've bought quite a few things from Newegg. I've bought quite a few things from Newegg over the years. I did one of my very first PC builds on my own with all brand new parts from Newegg. This was during the times there were a couple of competitors. I think there was a company called Tiger Direct, and Newegg had lower prices than them, and they had better inventory selection than Fry's Electronics at the time. So it kind of bums me out that Newegg is, sending refurbished items that literally fall apart when you pull it out of the box. Am I gonna go run around and tell everyone like Newegg is terrible and like, oh, look at what they did, look what they did? That's not the point of this video. I just kind of wanted to share my experience, because who knows how many people this has happened to. If they were willing to delete my review, who knows? It kind of brings up the question, like, what's going on here? So like I said, I'm not doing this for maliciousness or like, hey, let's go after Newegg or something. Hey, I'm a nobody. But this is just my experience, and it sucks because I had such a good experience with the RTX 2070, and then I'm like, cool, well, I need another, not super high-end GPU that's at least still going to get driver updates. An RTX 2060 Super from Newegg, yeah, I bought a 2070 from them and it was great. And then I get, sent this, so it just bums me out. For the record, I actually have not purchased any other GPUs from Newegg at this point, so I do want to replace the GTX 1070 in the Stepmania machine, but I'm not in a hurry at this point because I'm gonna take my time. I'm just gonna wait it out. Maybe I can see, maybe I run into like a 3060 or a 4060, or just something that nobody really needs. I'll pick it up. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to talk about my unfortunate experience with Newegg Refreshed GPUs right after I had such a great one with the RTX 2070. But this was a very long video. Gosh, it's probably in the ballpark of, like 20 or 30 minutes or something at this point. I'm going to go ahead and end the video now. This was just a lot of yapping. And me venting a little bit, but I do want to thank you guys for watching. If you guys have had experiences similar to this, leave a comment. That's cool. Like, I'm curious. Like, am I the only one who's had their review, which again wasn't it wasn't a bad review. I mean, it was a review pointing out that I got a poor product. But it wasn't like I cussed at Newegg or said anything bad about Newegg. Like, I just said, hey, this is what I received. I feel like I got a pretty poor conditioned item, and they deleted it. So, has anyone else gotten their reviews deleted on Newegg? Have you received something from the Newegg Refresh program that looks like it came out of like a garage sale? I'm legitimately curious at this point. If this was just like a one-off and maybe I shouldn't be too worried about it, or maybe I got lucky the first time with the 2070 and then ended up kind of getting snapped back to reality with the RTX 2060. Anyways, I'm going to end the video. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully this was informative. I'm sure it wasn't entertaining because it was yapping. But until I catch you guys in the next video, take it easy. Bye-bye.